Oh, hi, baby.
Hey babe, is this the video where you're going to throw me under the bus?
No, this is the video where I'm going to throw you under the jeepney.
You're so mean.
I know it, isn't it terrible?
You
Thank
should
you,
laugh.
baby.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, guys, it's Dave, and welcome back to One Man's Paradise. Perhaps the biggest hurdle one will face in dating is finding a sincere Filipina who is not out for strictly financial purposes or to scam. But what happens when you find that perfect partner? She is beautiful, young, communicative, and truly values the life the two of you can build together. Here on our channel, we want to tell it all like it is, and it's not always sunshine and roses. Today, we'll talk about the top 3 issues you will likely face in pursuing a relationship in the Philippines: relationship velocity, family, and jealousy. First, let's talk about relationship velocity, the speed at which a relationship can progress here in the Philippines. From the moment you begin an online or in-person chat with an interested Filipina, you might already be in a relationship, at least from the perspective of the Filipina. I know, you've got this. You'll just tell her, we'll take it slow, or I'm not looking for a girlfriend right away, and all will be well. And truly, one would think that would be a clear and concise way of setting expectations. But that's not always how it works out in many instances. Case in point, while still in the U.S., I was curious as to what the online dating thing was all about, what Filipinos were like to chat with, and what types of things they found interesting. Their humor, how easy or hard communication might be, and yes, what differences various age gaps might introduce. Initially, I ended up with 6 or 7 chatmates, ranging from 24 to 50, just casually talking about my interest in retiring in the Philippines. 2 to 3 were clearly scammers based on their topics of conversation, and were quickly weeded out. Of the 4 or 5 left, all but the 50-year-old made it clear they didn't like the idea of me chatting with other people, wanting to be the only person I chatted with. I also made it clear that I was not the type of person who could fall in love online, sight unseen, and also that since there were a lot of scammers on the site, that I would never send money to someone I never met. Another person disappeared, leaving 4. The 3 younger women, ages 24, 27, 31, all casually tried to manipulate me into becoming exclusive. Keep in mind, we're just talking friendly chat, getting to know each other's goals, etc. Nothing intimate. However, the 50-year-old was fairly quick to let me know that she still had a very healthy libido and tried to make it a more core of our chats. Over time, the chatmates dropped to 2, and finally 1, a 27-year-old houseworker. While I did let her know that I was only chatting with her at that point until I arrived in the Philippines, I made it clear that nothing changed with my limitations. Again, some resistance, but eventually I got the story that, hey, great, if we end up just friends, then I'll be good with that. A few weeks later, and I landed in Dumaguete. I took 10 days to recoup from the travel and to find an apartment in Valencia. But before moving to my apartment, I took one more day in Dumaguete to meet up with my friend. She brought 2 coworker girls as chaperones, which I totally was okay with and even suggested she do. Within moments of meeting, she took my hand and didn't let go pretty much the entire time. We ate at Jollibee's, picked up a couple of items I needed at the local mall, and walked the boulevard for an hour or so. Then we took a trike to my hotel to drop me off, and they would go on home from there. However, my friend wanted to help me to my room with the packages from shopping. Once up to my room, she gave me a quick kiss goodbye and went on her way. It seemed clear she felt she claimed a boyfriend with that kiss. For the most part, she was sweet, cute, and friendly. The next day, Tuesday, I think, I moved into my new apartment and I felt I could breathe a little. After all, I had managed to get a more permanent roof over my head. Within the next 24 hours, my friend was making plans to come spend the following weekend with me. This is where I had to stop and think things through. Clearly, she was in the very beginnings of a relationship, and a weekend together would be the equivalent of becoming betrothed, or at the very least, an exclusive relationship. Having read about how some or perhaps many Filipino will just steamroll into something, I told her that I just wasn't ready for a weekend yet and that she had not yet provided a cinema and that I would not become intimate with someone without one. Truth is, not only did those things bother me, but I just wasn't willing to jump into bed, as exciting as it may play out in one's head. We just really didn't have enough time together to allow chemistry to develop and personalities to click. She became very upset, felt rejected, and well, so much for being friends if we didn't become more. So yeah, a new relationship with many Filipinas could feel like a teenage whirlwind romance, all leading to a much deeper commitment than the two of you have earned and developed together. This can leave you in a very sticky situation. Did she move in with you? Does she have a kid? Is she working or completely financially dependent on you? How in the heck did all this happen anyways? One day you're clicking a smiley face on a dating profile and a week later you're Mr. and Mrs. What did you say your name was again? The second issue you may very well find yourself faced with relates to interacting with her family. If you have watched many videos at all on the subject, then you may have already heard of issues from a group of 20 people showing up to greet you at the airport and expecting you to celebrate by taking them all out to dinner, to second cousins hitting you up for surefire business propositions. And of course, one of the most common situations is the daughter providing financial assistance to the family. And now that you are her man, well, now that falls on you. At the very least, you could find yourself the go-to guy for any and all financial needs, emergencies, medical bills, school fees, to a small loan, etc. I took the opportunity when chatting with several women online to ask them their thoughts on this, and surprisingly, many were clear up front that they felt they owed their family support. While some said they would help from time to time, but that their new partner and family would be priority, and a few said they did not expect their partners to take on any financial responsibility. Then there is the possibility of children. Your Filipina may already have a child, perhaps more than one. Again, this complicates things for some, and while you may be like me and welcome the opportunity to share your heart and life with a stepchild, some may very well be finished with raising children. So, that leaves you with just two choices: dating a somewhat older woman whose kids are already grown, or a woman who doesn't have children. The latter of which requires you to deeply explore whether or not having children is an option for them. Family is so very integral in the Filipino culture that not having a child simply is not an option for many. So if you don't want children of your own, take steps to make sure you can't. Not saying it's common, but I wouldn't count on the Filipina being responsible for birth control. And if you do start a relationship with a Filipino with younger children, just know that it makes it much more complicated if things get rough between you and your Filipina. The third major issue you may experience in the relationship with your Filipina is jealousy. At first thought, you may think, what the heck? I'm a grown man. I won't be jealous. Well, my friend, I'm not talking about you being the jealous one, but her being very protective of you. And for some, that means a small bit of jealousy. And to be honest, a Filipino without any sign of jealousy is likely a red flag. But for others, we may be talking about an almost obsessive fear of you cheating on them or leaving. This stems from a variety of potential factors. In the Philippines, a single young petite woman with long black hair, morena skin, what we Westerners would call beautifully tan, is quite common. So competition among them is very high. They feel lost in the crowd, plain and ordinary. And I have met and chatted with some absolutely beautiful Filipina who outright thought they were unattractive. Culturally, at least among adult Filipinas, a woman is considered getting past her prime for marriage after 30. They sometimes even use a term that means leftover. You will see young women in their late 20s refer to themselves as old already, and societally, the beauty norms value light skin, where darker skin may denote a poorer, lower class lifestyle. And for Filipino men, a somewhat heavier woman stands out among the slender, petite women. In short, the very things that Western men value are sometimes considered average at best in the Philippines. Broken families and single mothers are perhaps more common here than in the West. This creates an environment where mental and emotional issues can develop. Families without fathers because they chose to leave, or single mothers who thought they would be married or ended up having to raise their child alone. While the term daddy issues is quite crass, it does aptly describe the problem. women whose fathers, husbands, and or boyfriends abandoned them and are going on carrying the scars from that trauma. Then there is the cheating. There is probably no real data out there on this, but ask any Filipina if they are aware of cheating among their friends or their own experiences, and well, you might as well make a pot of coffee and settle down for a long chat. So it should come as no surprise that many Filipinas suffer from a lack of self-confidence and jealousy issues. Add to that, you being a foreigner adds a little more rarity, intrigue, perhaps perceived financial value, and you have the makings of some really volatile and toxic behavior. And so now to share my own personal experiences with these issues in my relationship with my Filipina, Kath. While we have a lot in our relationship that is amazing and fulfilling, we too have our problems, just like everyone else. We try to work through them. No relationship is perfect. As far as how quickly our relationship developed, well, Kath and I both tried to take our time. The biggest reason perhaps being Claire, her daughter. Both of us wanted to make sure we progressed slowly enough to minimize the risks of her being caught in the middle of a bad relationship. Our relationship did get intimate in our first week, not uncommon in the West or anywhere else for that matter. But we both understood that it would not drive our relationship or emotions. Well, the best we could contain them anyways. Because Kath lives 6 to 7 hours away, we had to take a little more time to build our relationship, and so it was 3 months before we finally made the decision to live together. Some might think it was a no-brainer for her to leave and come stay with me, but realize she had a decent job as an accountant, a stable roof over her head, and her daughter was settled in school. It is no easy decision to uproot your family, leave the security of a stable job, and move away from your family, all for a man whom you cannot truly know in just a few months. When it comes to potential family issues, our situation was different than many. Sadly, Kath's father passed away several years ago, and her mother had only recently passed. Most of her siblings were in relationships, and stresses on the family have kept a relationship at arm's length. So with the exception of some sibling tension, I really cannot speak personally to the family issues mentioned earlier. Just know that they are very real and that you will likely experience some level of potential issues. And finally, we need to talk about jealousy. Truth is, jealousy has been a major problem for Kath and I pretty much from the beginning. While dating, it appeared as a minor comment and sideways glances at other Filipinas, and sometimes sneaking glances at me to see what I might be looking at. It wasn't until Kath moved in that I began to see more concerning jealousy behavior. We went to Valencia one evening and stopped at a local taco stand. We stepped up to the counter and the waitress took our order. Apparently she was wearing a bra instead of an actual crop top. Truly, I didn't even notice. After all, look at Kath. How could anyone possibly be interested in anyone else? We sat down to wait for our order and oh my God, what ensued absolutely left me speechless. Kath was livid, saying the woman smiled and flirted with me, and I smiled back. I had no clue what she was talking about. A brief quarrel occurred, followed by her telling me we will not be coming back here. And I, perhaps in poor judgment, responded, well, maybe we won't, but if I want tacos, I certainly will. Since then, I simply set boundaries with this type of behavior. And while I have continued to allow this line to be stepped on a few times, it is a very clear understanding that too much may result in us breaking up. I cannot live with a relationship wrought with distrust and jealousy, and perhaps more so with the tension, stress, and conflict that comes with it. We've been together now for about a year, and while things have gotten better, there are still episodes that come out of the blue and blindside me. I need to feel confident that jealousy will not become so serious as to cause major problems down the road. She continues to struggle with and work on it, and as it seems to get less and less frequent and serious, I'm hopeful that she is feeling more confident in our relationship and commitment to each other. The last thing either of us would want is to get married, build a house, and then spend the rest of our relationship fighting over irrational fears. So there you have it, the honest truth about the top 3 issues that an expat is likely to face when pursuing a relationship with a Filipina. Don't get me wrong, it's totally worth the effort. Just make sure to set clear boundaries and stick to them in order to minimize your risk of failure and maximize your chances at an amazing relationship. Whew! If you made it this far, kudos. Clearly, you too are missing the relationship you have always wanted and feel like you deserve. If this video was helpful or just gave you some good food for thought, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. It would help our channel grow and we'd greatly appreciate it. And above all, leave us a comment. Let's keep the dialogue going and perhaps one day we'll hang out in paradise together. See you soon.